All right, Profit Podcast listeners, we are coming back to you, not with the first time, not with the second time, but with the third time. I'm excited to invite Justin Moore on the show today. So welcome back, Justin.
Crystal, I'm so thrilled and honored to be a third-time guest. Who would have thought that me doing the caterpillar, doing the worm one time at an event would lead to this illustrious relationship we built? Third-time guest, excited to be back.
Oh my gosh, you can't just drop that little gem in and be like, I'm going to have to go ask my video editor. We're going to find that because I know it lives on Instagram somewhere.
It does. It's
you
on
have
there.
it. Yeah. We're going to go grab that and put that in because, oh my gosh, I think back to, and now I'm trying to remember if it was Craft and Commerce, not last year, but the year before that I was first exposed to you and all the things that you were teaching and working on. And I mean, now we're, recording this at the beginning of 2025. And I have to say, for a year and a half of learning about sponsorships, my whole world view has changed. Not just my world, but my entire worldview as a creator has completely changed. And I just want to say thank you so much because I feel like the things that I've learned from you, I've been able to bring that value back to my audience and share with them this is possible. And it was such a gift that you gave to me, not just the actual tangible, do this, do that, here's this, but it's just a worldview about being a creator. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That means a lot to me. So I really appreciate you saying that. And I could tell that was from the heart. So thank you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you've made me lots of money, Justin. Let's just throw that in there. How fun is that?
Let's go.
Exactly. I was waiting. I should have put bets on how long is it going to be before Justin throws in his cool sound effects.
Only
it
a couple
makes
minutes.
me jealous. Makes me jealous because I need something like that for the show. But okay, we are here. Okay, we have had you on the show, and I actually wanted to pull up some of these titles so everyone can go back and listen. We've talked about unleashing your creator potential through sponsorships before and what creating genuine sponsorships looks like. These are previous conversations we've had with Justin, but we are here to celebrate something really special today because all the stars are aligning. And when this episode drops, what happens, Justin? Tell everybody what's happening today. What is the big thing happening for you today?
Holy cow, Crystal. Today is the official launch date of my brand new book, Sponsor Magnet. Holy cow, I can't believe it. We're finally here. I feel like I've been writing this book forever. I feel like I've been planning the release of this book forever. I've been pre-marketing the book forever, and we're finally here. It's kind of surreal. I mean, the process first of all, maybe it'd be interesting to talk about why did I even write a book? Because I think that a lot of maybe you're listening or watching to this and you're thinking, man, I've always wanted to write a book, or maybe that's in my future one day. I have a book inside me, and I always very much felt that way for a long time, but it always felt like there's a huge opportunity cost to spend so much time doing that, right? There's all these other things. Yeah, I've built this business. I've got courses. I've got coaching. I've got content that I could be putting out, newsletter, YouTube, social media. There's all these things vying for my attention, which I think a lot of us can relate to. And so I'm sitting here thinking, am I really going to carve out time out of this schedule that I don't even feel like I have time to do this? And basically it was a decision that I had to stop doing things. I was like, okay, well, I can't do all these other things that I want to do. If I really want to write the book and do it justice and write, kind of the definitive text on sponsorship strategy, there's a lot of things I can't do. And that was hard because I've always been the person where I just want to do everything. I want to juggle everything. And I pride myself on working to the bone and all that. And I'm not super proud of it, but I love what I do. I love helping people in this topic. And so that was really hard, but it was I had this thesis, Crystal, where I was like, okay, right now I built this business over the last 3 or 4 years and everything's been going pretty well, right? Lots of, customers and lots of success stories. And, it's been a financial success because I've been serving people and it's been awesome. But at the same time, the people who I've been serving are all people who are actively having issues with sponsorships. They're like, I'm in this negotiation with a brand, I need help. Or I've got this opportunity in my inbox and I need, like, I don't know how much to charge. I don't know, how do I put a proposal together, all this. And so we serve those people really well because they know what they need. It's like an active pain point, right? But that's like the 0.001% of creators out there, right?
Yeah.
That are actively having issues. And I would have this experience when I would go speak at these conferences where I would start to kind of mix and mingle with people who weren't influencers, who weren't really call themselves creators. They were like authors or course creators or newsletter operators or event organizers or all these people who were like, yeah, I don't know, sponsorships. I don't know, like that. I don't know if that's really for me. And then I would have this like 3-minute conversation with them and they would be like, actually, maybe sponsorships are for me. This is cool.
Yes,
maybe I should think about that. And so that I couldn't stop thinking about that. And I was like I thought for a long time that like my free YouTube videos or my free newsletter, like I'm going to be able to help those people. Like maybe they're interested. But the more I thought about it, like I'm never going to be able to reach or impact those people. The creators who don't really think that sponsorships are for them or don't really know how much of an impact it could have on their business. And I thought, probably the best way to serve them or reach them would be basically to distill everything that I know about brand partnerships into a book. And so that was really, that was like reason number one was impact. But then candidly, and we're going to get a little cheesy here, I think, maybe a little sentimental. I'm going to be 40 in not that long. And I'm kind of feeling like I'm on the, my wife and I have had been blessed with so much success over the last 10 or 15 years. I kind of feel like it's my duty to educate the next generation of creators. And I'm like, what is my legacy going to be when I've left this earth? And somehow a book felt like the right way to do that. It's not the thousands of YouTube videos I've made over the, 15 years. It's not all the blog posts or newsletter articles or social media posts that I've made. Somehow a book feels more permanent. And so those were, I think, kind of the two main reasons I wrote the book.
Yeah. And I think when you look at people's dedications on their book, like half the time they're dedicating it to their spouse, their best friend, their mom, their dad, their kids. And like, it's a very different piece of content than because I don't start every YouTube video I create and thank my husband and my kids. Like I just don't. Like that would be weird to a point where it's like, you don't have to, like, Crystal, we get it. Like you don't have to do that every single time. But a book is different because you are sacrificing your time, your energy. Maybe you had to, and actually I want you to talk about this. So I'm not going to spoil this. I want you to tell this story, but what did you do? Tell the audience what you did to complete your book. Cause you were talking about, I was reading it, I think it was in your newsletter, which everybody's going to go, we're going to link to Justin's newsletter cause it's incredible. But you were talking about how you had to do something drastic in order to get the book over the finish line. Can you share what that was about getting over your writer's block?
Yeah. I think that there was this point where I had the structure, I had the bones of what I wanted to talk about, like almost from the beginning. I knew roughly I have this like 8-step sponsorship wheel framework that I teach. And I knew that was going to be kind of the bones of the book. And so I was really excited to put pen to paper for the first kind of the sexiest chapters, which is usually pitching and negotiating. That's what a lot of people come to me for, is like, I need help getting on the radar of brands, or I need help understanding how to negotiate better, charge my worth, et cetera. And so I wrote those chapters really quickly because I had so much to say about that. And it was the less sexy chapters, which is like the contract, the concept, the production phase, the feedback round, the publication round, a lot of those aspects that are not as, exciting for a lot of people. But honestly, those are the phases that tend to be when the brand decides whether they want to actually hire you again or not. Because if it's a nightmare to work with you during the actual execution phase of the book, that's when they're like, we're never working with this person again, right? And so I found it a bit harder because it was this like prescription medication that I had to give people, I'd be like, look, I know this is not fun. I know that this is not like super exciting and like thinking about all the money you're going to make, but you got to do this stuff. You got to do it right. And it's just kind of like, you got to sit down and take your medicine. It felt it was a heavier lift for me to actually write that in a way that was engaging. And to the point where I was just banging my head against the wall for weeks. And I was like, you know what? I got to do something. I got to change up scenery, something. And so I was like, I told my wife, I was like, okay, we got to get out of Dodge here. We got to get out of town. Let's just like rent an Airbnb. Let's just go there for a long weekend. We'll bring the kids. A lot of people responded to that email and they're like, you brought your kids to a writing retreat? I was like, okay, well, if officially it wasn't a writing retreat per se, but I felt like I would have time. I could wake up early. The kids would still be sleeping. I'd go on the balcony. I had this beautiful view. It was like the ocean or the lake and the mountains. And I just like sat on the balcony and I got more done. I got past that block and I got more done in like 4 days than I had gotten done in weeks. And I think something about just like changing up the scenery allowed me to kind of see it from a different angle. And oh my God, it was so worth it.
Oh, I think it's such a great lesson too, because I think that there's probably people listening right now that you're stuck on a project or you're like in this place where you're like, gosh, I just keep creating the same content over and over and over again. And it's just like, it's not working or something. And just telling that little piece of your story, I think is going to make people more interested in what you do. We talk about storytelling so much around here. And I think that just having that extra piece, like I wanted everybody. First of all, we're going to tell you to go buy the book. You're going to have to go buy Justin's book. But I want you to think about that when you get to those chapters. So it's just like, oh, like he was writing this with, his wife and his kids in the other room. And like they were encouraged. But I think that that's the beautiful thing about, you and April, your wife, and how y'all have been strategic partners in your entire creator journey. And it shows. And I'm sure there's plenty of stories within your book. I know there is within your content about how that's worked. But I wanted to ask you a question about, because like you said, like you knew that a book was in you. You knew that you wanted to write it. But I want to ask, how do you think your book would have been in year one of your content, which you're like, maybe you wouldn't have had anything helpful to share, and what it is today? Because people come to me and they say, Crystal, I think I want to write a book one day. And it's really hard, like as someone who likes to be a coach, to say, you're not ready. Like you don't have the stories, or you don't have like, it would just be surface level, maybe if you would have done it on year one, but now you have this rich backlog of examples, stories, interactions, speaking on stage. So I don't know, what does that make you think of if someone had asked you on year one versus today to write a book?
The best analogy that I can draw about this is that, I taught this course called Brand Deal Wizard live for several years. I ran it for 11 cohorts. And the material, the collateral that I taught in cohort 1 compared to cohort 11, it's like completely indistinguishable. It's a completely different course based on all of the feedback that I got from my students over those years that I taught the program, because I was constantly trying to improve it and get better and add better examples. And I would learn stuff. I would read books. I would go to conferences. I would learn different things from other people, because I'm always a student to the process as well. And I absolutely, would have had that same experience had I tried to sit down and write a book on year one when I hadn't codified a lot of my frameworks. I hadn't tested out these strategies and frameworks on real people, on real people's businesses, and seeing the real results that they've experienced. I think I would just have much less confidence or certainty behind the advice that I was giving. I would waffle. I would be like, is this the right thing to say? Like, I don't know. It seems like it would work, but is it really going to work? Right. And so there wasn't a single moment when I wrote the book, honestly, where I was questioning whether the advice was good or whether it was the wrong thing to say. It was more about like, how do I tell this story in a way that I'm holding someone's hand through the process, in a way that I'm keeping them engaged. So it was never like I was doubting like if this was the right advice to give or not. It was more about like, what's the right way to say it? And so I think that's a really important obstacle or hurdle that you need to overcome before you write a book. Is you really do need to like test out and prove it, especially if you're writing a prescriptive nonfiction book, which is what I wrote, which is like how to do something, right? Like, I really think it's important to have those concrete examples. Not only did I have concrete examples from, this is actually another really important thing, which is like, there's a difference between you doing something successfully and you teaching other people to do something successfully, because it's possible that like based on your circumstances or your story or your capabilities, that you just have some sort of special superpower to like get good results yourself. But the moment you try to teach someone else to do that, they're like, I don't get it. Like, I'm not seeing the same results that you're getting. And so there is another chasm I think you need to cross when you can actually, okay, how do I apply this to other people? How do I help other people who are in different situations get the same transformation or outcomes that I'm getting? And I think that's another important part of like writing a book, is like, especially if you're trying to teach people to do something, is like you do have to have those concrete examples where other people have seen results as well.
Yeah. And I think that you just gave a big gift to someone, because there's a lot of people in our audience that they are brand new. Like, they are baby content creators. They're little infants that are just like, oh, I just came here to learn how to get started. And y'all are talking about things that you're doing years into your journey. But I wanted to, again, I think it's just a gift that you give them by saying, guys, we need wisdom to do some things too. Like, you can't just, even if you've done something for years and years in a previous life, but now you're doing it in an online forum, or you're doing it in a different industry, or you're doing it a different way, like, give yourself some grace and compassion to stumble along. And like Justin said, like, the first iteration of the course is totally different than the iteration that lives there today. And there's a reason for that. Like, you needed to go through some of that heartache, some of those stumbles and challenges and everything in order to get to the other side and be a much better teacher and a leader for your communities as well. So I think that it's just awesome. But were you going to say something else to that?
No, maybe kind of as a bookend to this, I think, if you look at a lot of people who have written books, a lot of the people that, everyone listening or watching might look up to, even let's look at someone like Amy Porterfield, who I really admire. She wrote her book 2 weeks notice. How many years into her journey? Many years into her journey, right? Yeah. And so a lot of like really successful authors that you look at, it wasn't their book that put them on the map often. It was like the thing that they did, the business that they had built, especially in the business space, right? And so I think that I'm not sure that a book is the right format for everyone to try to like put yourself on the map. I think that there's like that could be looked at as a capstone oftentimes of all the success that you've had, and kind of codifying all that into a tidy content format.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things. I mean, I've watched Gabby Bernstein. She's actually someone so we're going to get into the meta, like behind the scenes of all this stuff now. It's like, I bought one of her courses. It's all about, writing and selling best-selling books. I mean, the woman has produced, I think, like 13 books. And I don't even know how many of those are like immediate bestsellers. But at the same time, this is what she does. Like, she has cracked the formula for herself. And she's like, I do this and I do this, and I just market the crap out of the thing. And I just like, she has so much fun doing it and all those things. But what I love about what you did, I want to talk about the challenge that you put out to yourself about getting on so many podcasts before the book was out. So tell us the behind the scenes of what that was like.
Okay, so again, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never launched a book before. And so in my tiny little brain, I was like, okay, well, honestly, like the only way, there's no way that I'm going to be able to reach the amount of creators, have the impact that I want to have if I only rely on my audience. And so I was working with a book launch strategist. His name is Casey. He's amazing. Casey Proctor. And, he basically told me, he's like, all right, Justin, sat me down and he was like, look, you have built up a tremendous amount of goodwill over the last 3 or 4 years, just like helping people. Like, honestly, like was not like an intentional strategy. It wasn't like I was like this sneaky quid pro quo, like I'm going to like come back and ask for a favor in 4 years, after helping you with a negotiation one time. It was never about that. It was always like, I just wanted to be helpful to people, and word kind of spread. And candidly, that's how a lot of my course students came. Like, referrals are 20-25% of my business. So it was just like this, you open a thread on, if someone on Twitter is like, I'm having issues with brand deals, like you open it and like 8 people are saying, hey, talk to Justin, right? And so it's like, I definitely have built up this body of people who are happy to kind of recommend me. And so Casey basically told me, he's like, okay, dude, you wrote the book. Now is the time to go back and basically ask people like, hey, would you be willing to like give a shout out for the book when it comes out? And the really surprising, a couple of surprising things about this is like, number one, I was terrified. I was so scared because I've never asked for anything. I've never come, I'm just uncomfortable. Fundamentally, it's like way more comfortable for me to just like give. And so that prospect was like really scary, number one. And number two, I went out and I asked about 100 people, including you. You're one of those people. I said, hey, like, would you be willing to like, shout out the book, have me on your podcast, shout out in the newsletter, whatever. And of the 100, basically about 100 people that I asked, all but 3 said yes. And the 3 people who said no, it was like, they're not talking to creators anymore. That's not their audience. Or there was one person who was very weird who said no. And so that's another story for another day. But the vast majority of people were like, are you kidding me? Of course. And it was almost like one thing that Casey said was like, it's actually a blessing that you're giving them, that they're finally able to like repay you somehow for like that help that you gave them that one time. And somehow that was a mindset shift for me. I was like, wow, that's actually cool. Like allowing people a way to like thank me for help that I gave them once upon a time. Like, so that was what I did. I set a goal to like get on 100 podcasts in like basically a 2 or 3 month time span. And I didn't hit it quite yet. I'm like, maybe I'm 50, 60, something like that right now, time of recording, which is still awesome. But I've definitely, holy cow, I've been doing 2 to 3 podcasts a day for like months. And that's been, over the, took a break for the holidays, obviously, but, there's been a lot, but it's, honestly, it's, there's going to be this like tidal wave of content coming out around the book launch, which is, it's exciting, but also terrifying. I have no idea what's going to happen. So, I had someone DM me on LinkedIn the other day and they're like, I saw that you're doing this. Like, aren't you a little concerned that like, people are going to see all these pieces, like the content, like podcasts coming out in the same week and just like get tired of you? And I'm like, I'm counting on it. They're going to be so overwhelmed. They're like going to be fine, Justin, fine. I'll buy your book. Like, fine. That's what I'm counting on. So I don't know. It's going to be, we'll see, I guess.
Well, but what I love about it is it's so right. And you and I are cut from the same cloth. Like I am terrified to ask people for favors. I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's like deeply entwined into my ego. I don't know. Maybe we need to go to therapy about that, but it's just like, it's so hard. But then when I do, I don't know why I'm shocked because I'm immediately like, oh yeah, because this is the community that we've built. We've built this community of compassionate, like amazing people. And then it's just another reminder of, this is why I'm doing this. I'm doing this not for me, not to be a New York Times bestseller and sell billions of books. Like I am here for these people. And then when I ask them to show up, even like with that, oh, I really don't want to do it. It's making me super uncomfortable. Like it's so incredible. So, I mean, as someone again in your audience and has learned from you, like I do feel so grateful that I'm able to shout this out from the rooftops because I think it's going to help so many creators. And I do actually, I want to switch to kind of the meat and potatoes of the book. Like you've kind of teased out a little bit. I got my pre-order bonuses and I got the first chapter and I'm like, okay, like this is going to be so fun. But I want to talk about some of the things that my audience really struggles with. And we've kind of touched on these a little bit in previous interviews. So we're not going to go super deep on like, well, we have all these mindset shifts. Like I'm not good enough or I don't have a big enough audience. But I want to think about the evergreen topics that you cover in this book that won't matter if someone's listening to this in 2025 or 2035. Like some of the deep misconceptions that people have about monetizing content. Is there something that immediately pops into your head that my audience is likely struggling with today that can help them?
I think that one of the fundamental struggles for a lot of people is that they don't consider themselves influencers or creators. Maybe they have a business that they don't have a large following on the internet, right? Maybe they have an in-person event. Maybe they have a course or a community or a membership. Maybe they have, some sort of a newsletter or something like that. That's like a kind of a non-traditional, I guess, format where they've built their influence. And I think that there's this myth that if I'm not dancing on, a short form platform, then I can't get sponsorships. And just a quick anecdote. I did a session for a community of coaches yesterday. And every single person in this audience, before I started talking, were like skeptical, like sponsorships. I'm a coach. I work with people one-on-one, or like I have this like membership community or group coaching program or something. And by the end of it, every single person was just like, I can't thank you. And this was a huge mindset shift for me, because a lot of what I talk about in the book as well is that regardless of where you've built your influence, there are brands and companies out there who would be so excited about getting in front of your clients, of your customers. Because, for example, like when I actually have gotten my course sponsored, because think about who that customer represents to a brand. Mm-hmm. That is someone who is spending money. Proven. This is someone who's like taking out their wallet and they're spending money on this multi-$1,000 course. That is a person that I want to get in front of. If I'm a brand, if I'm a company and I have a software tool or something, that is a very different. And so I'm not talking about just like having a bunch of followers on social media. I'm talking about if I can get in front of 10 or 15 or 20 or 5 really, hyper specific, engaged customers that might be, interested in purchasing my software or joining my coaching program or joining our, coming to our conference or something. That is 5 or 10 people that I would really get excited about getting in front of. And so I think that it's this mindset shift of like, regardless of where you've built your influence, whether it's online or offline, there are absolutely brands and companies out there who may be interested in partnering with you.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things that, and again, we've had Justin on the show. He has so much helpful content on YouTube and other platforms. Again, plug for the newsletter. I think it's awesome. I think it's so great. But this is what I'm talking about is like, let's just go back to, I am a student. I am a customer. I am someone in Justin's world. And the way that you continue to open my eyes is part of your newsletter content is, and I can't remember what the cadence is, how often you send them out, but you will say, hey, don't sleep on these brands this month, like go pitch these people. And then I get this list and it's all of these brands that are in my inbox that we can go look at what the deal is or like go see what the specifications are, what they're looking for. And I'm like, they're sponsoring stuff? Like, I would have never in my life, because these are household products. These are things I use every day. These are stuff that my kids use. And I'm just like looking around my house and I'm like, so it's like, again, it's like it continues to blow my mind because now I understand the process and I've done this myself. I've used your framework. I've successfully made tens of thousands of dollars with all the things that you've taught me. But then I look at, yeah, exactly. Anytime we talk about money,
I do it, sorry.
Hang on, we gotta do it again. But it's just like, it continues to blow my mind because I think I still have mindset blocks on, well, I can only work with these like boxed in companies within the podcasting industry. Like I need to go after, a Riverside, a Descript, a Buzzsprout. Like these are the only ones that I need to go to. But then something comes across my desk through, your content. And then I'm just like, I'm shook because all of a sudden I'm like, duh, this is so obvious. But it's uncovering those pieces of it that I think you continue to do just by sharing like, hey, you could try this. Like, I feel like you're just like giving all the things, like you're seeing these ideas online and you're just throwing them back over the fence. You're like, guys, here's more. Like it keeps coming and it's blowing those scarcity mindsets just out of the water.
One thing, oh no, my book fell. I got to pick it up. I hit it. I got this beautiful book display behind me. I need to like tape it down or something. One of the other obstacles I think for a lot of people is, they just don't know what types of brands and companies they could partner with.
Yes.
You said, they just like think about the obvious ones, like, the podcasting equipment and tools and gear and whatever's in like whatever content niche I talk about. I brainstorm 5 to 10 brands, but then who else? Right. And I think another really helpful exercise that is timeless is just realizing that it's just not about you. It's not about the tools you use. It's not about the products that you use, because if you were to reach out and pitch that brand and say that basically, I love your brand or tool, I've been using it for 3 years, that's just like kind of an instant delete or they ghost you, because it's like, that's what everyone says. It's not interesting in any way. They don't know who you are. They're busy. They don't know how they could collaborate with you. It's kind of a dead end. Right. And so a much better approach would be, hey, you know what? You need to actually learn more about your audience and what's going on in their lives and you know, what problems that they're having. I say, you know, there's this advice that I give around doing what's called a psychographic survey, where you actually send them a Google form or a type form, or maybe you are on social media, YouTube community tab or Instagram stories or something like that. You basically just say, hey, I want to learn more about you. I can see the demographic. I can see the analytics on my back. I know the ages. I know the geographies where you're based. I know your gender, et cetera. But are you married? Do you have kids? Like, what type of jobs do you have? What's keeping you up at night? You know, what problems do you have? What brands and products and services are you using and loving right now? Yeah. And so this is a game changer when you realize, wow, I have permission to just like ask questions like that to my audience. 100% you do. And you know what's going to be so awesome about that is that you're going to get results back from that survey that are probably pretty surprising. So maybe Crystal, you send out this survey to your audience, to your newsletter next week, and you had an idea of what you thought the composition of your audience was. Mm-hmm. Aspiring creators, you know, SMBs, you know, small, medium businesses, you know, whatever. You had this impression of what you thought it was. And then you get this survey back and you say, wow, I didn't realize that 35% of my audience are brick and mortar businesses who are trying to make content on the internet to get more foot traffic into their store. I actually didn't realize I had that many people in my audience. Maybe I should go out there and pitch a point of sale, like, you know, Square or Shopify. They have those point of sale things where you're swiping credit cards. I've never really covered stuff like that before, but again, it's not about me. Yeah. It's about serving my audience. And especially if you're able to segment those people on your newsletter, maybe you're able to do a sponsorship just to those 35% of people on your newsletter. So you're not exposing everyone to the sponsorship, but you've got, 3,500 small business owners in your audience. The really exciting thing about that pitch is that that's a much more compelling pitch now, right? You reach out to Shopify and say, hey, I actually just did a survey. I've got all these like SMBs in my audience who are having this issue with inventory management or, getting more foot traffic or whatever it is, whatever the issue is. I would love to expose them to your solution. So now you don't wonder like, oh, I hope people are into this. Like, no, you know they're into it. You surveyed them, right? And so I think that this is just a big unlock. Also, the big unlock here is like, wow, maybe I should create some content to serve these people. Yeah, I didn't know that I had these SME. Maybe I should, start creating some content around how to get more foot traffic into your brick and mortar shop, or how do you do whatever, right? And so I don't know. I think that this exercise is hugely valuable as a creator, as an influencer, as a business owner, and can unlock a lot.
Yeah. And I think it's the underrated tool, right? It's like, because people talk about like, oh, I'll survey my audience one day I think there's a lot of people, especially my audience, they're waiting until they have, well, let me get like 10,000 people and then I'll have a bigger sample size and get these results. And I'm like, y'all, I have done surveys to like 10 people and begged everyone to fill it out until I had 3 people fill it out. And I'm like, hey, this is more information than I had before. And this is super helpful. So don't wait until you have thousands of people on your list or an Instagram that has enough people that you feel like you can finally poll them. This is so dang important. But I want to talk about your brain for a second, Justin. Like, this is what I love about your content is like, it's never the dull, like same thing. Even just now, I'm like, oh my God, that's a really good idea. Like, we're doing that Q2, like surveys coming, people, just to get prepared, because I haven't done one in a while. I'm like, oh yeah, we need to do that. So you're holding me accountable, one, but just the amount of ideas that you're able to come up with, it's hard to say, but you do this all the time on your YouTube channel. You are doing coaching sessions with people. You are just like, hey, tell me about your business. Tell me about your content and I will do this. So if anybody's listening right now and you're looking for more inspiration, just go check out Justin's newsletter. Get his book first and foremost. Go buy his book. It's everywhere you can get it today. Where is it's going to be on Amazon? Where are the other places?
Yeah, it's going to be everywhere. SponsorMagnet.com is probably the best place to get it directly. And because actually, can we go here for a second?
Go for it.
Okay, so SponsorMagnet.com is the place that you can get it. That's direct with me, and I did this intentionally. I decided to basically like my main call to action whenever I'm on a podcast or whenever I'm anywhere else is like, hey, buy this directly from me, mainly so that I can establish that direct connection with my readers, with my audience, with the people who want to hear from me the most, because we're all business owners. And let's be fair, like, of course, the number one goal that I have with the book is impact. But a secondary goal is I want to be able to establish a longer relationship with my readers who may need my support down the line for other things, whether it's the course, whether it's for coaching or whatever. And if I'm driving you to other platforms like Amazon, I don't have that connection with you, right? And so I do think it's like an important thing to understand if you are planning on writing a book or leveraging, it's the same advice if like you're building a social following, right? You don't have that direct connection with those people if, let's say, TikTok were to go away. I don't know. Maybe by the time that this is released, maybe it'll be banned in the US. I don't know. We'll see, right? But no, this is a real thing though, right? I mean, if you built up an audience on some of these platforms and then poof, overnight, you're suspended, you're demonetized, you don't have it, right? And so I very intentionally from the beginning decided like I'm gonna do this. So to clarify, I do have a publisher, which is Tilt Publishing, and they're great. But the awesome part about working with them is that I still maintain all the control, and I'm able to do it directly on my website and all that. So yeah, long-winded way of saying like I do think it's really important to like control this aspect of it if you also have other ways that you're hoping to monetize your business.
Yeah, I think it's so smart. And I've self-published books on Amazon, and I'm looking back and I'm like, gosh, I wish I would have had someone tell me, like, trying to have more like say in the process or having more of the distribution, just like the customer journey is really what it's about. Like this is what's so important to us too. It's like, well, we can send those I can't send follow-up emails to someone that orders something on Amazon. I have to do the whole like, well, come in and put your order number in here and then you can get your bonuses. And then it's like this whole hoopla of stuff, which still works.
I'm doing that too.
Like same. I know.
I'm definitely doing it too.
It works, but it's not that high touch of like, Crystal, I saw that you just ordered this. Like, thank you so much.
Right.
And also, here's your bonuses, or here's the next step that you should take, or make sure you share this on social because we're going to call that out too. If you're in this audience, and because I've shared about your book before, and if you have ordered Justin's book, we want to see it on Instagram this week. Like, we want to see you tagging Creator Wizard on Instagram and put it out there, because Justin, like I said before, like this is something that I love supporting other creators, but I also love supporting coaches and mentors that have really helped me, because in essence, you've also helped this community in a way that I will never be able to even fully account for, because they are they're going and helping their communities too. So it's this ripple effect. I think it's the beautiful thing about creating content, and I just thank you so much. But we're not going to wrap up just yet, because you're crazy. I'm just going to call you this right now, because you're doing something else really big this year. And I'm like, Justin, before we started recording, you were just like, Crystal, this timeline is, what did I do to myself? But when you were here on the show, when we recorded in Boise this past summer, you were like, I think I'm going to do an event. And I was like, oh, tell me more. And you're like, but I can't share too much. It's still in the works. But it's happening. It's happening now at the same time that you're releasing a book. So, tell us, this is a therapy set. This is a safe space.
This is going to be a therapy session. Okay. Yeah. So, it's happening. It's called Sponsor Games, and it's a very different type of event. For a long time, I've been going to creator focus events like VidCon and VidSummit and Playlist Live and like all, PodFest and all these events that I've gone to over the years, just learn and try to improve as a creator and all that. Right. And every time I go to these events, like there would be maybe like one or two, maybe three talks about sponsorships out of like 300, or whatever, like, especially the big conferences. And I would always go to all of them, because like that was like the number one way that my wife and I were making income as creators. And so I was like, I want to like learn more about how do I make more money with sponsorships, right? Clearly. And so it never made sense to me. I was like, how is this like the number? You do look at any survey, even today, of like the income sources for most creators and influencers, like very far and away, it's like brand deals, sponsorships is like a big chunk, 60-70% for of their revenue streams. And it never made sense to me. I was like, why is there no event focused on this? That makes no sense to me. And for years, 10 years, I've been thinking this. And so when I started building this business, it was always in the back of my mind. I was like, one day it would be super cool to like have an event focused on this topic. And so I finally just decided, I was like, I'm going to be the one to do it because like I am kind of an unbiased advocate here for creators. I have, like there are some events that are like put on by the industry or like the brands, and some that are like, kind of tangentially about this, but there's no event where it's like, this is for creators. This is not for brands. There's not going to be brands here. Well, we'll get into, there is going to be a slight curveball of brands there, but I was like, I want to design an event for creators. And you know what? I took a course creators mindset to the event actually, because I was like, you know what? I don't want this to be, a bunch of keynotes and panels and workshops where you fall asleep. I want you to have a transformation, an outcome. When you attend this, when you leave this event, you're going to be like, wow, I just learned so much. And that was like the best dang event I ever went to. And so I came at it from that perspective. When we started planning this event, I was like, all right, let's list out everything that we hate about conferences, falling asleep at panels, wasting time on our phone, playing Candy Crush, terrible food, just all these like things that we listed out. And we're like, we're going to do the opposite of all those things. And so basically we're designing a intimate event. It's going to be in San Antonio, Texas, March 16th to the 19th. And basically I've turned my 8-step sponsorship wheel methodology into 8 games that you're going to play to master these concepts. So the pitch game and the negotiate game, and you're actually going to be getting your hands dirty. You're going to be practicing these things. There's going to be real-time coaching to, basically improve your pitch and all this stuff. And then there's going to be 8 finalists. So 8 finalists from the game are going to advance to something called the Sponsor Tank, where you're going to be pitching real brand marketing managers on a panel of judges, basically. And there's going to be a grand prize winner who's going to walk away with $5,000 in cash. So it's going to be so much fun. And I cannot wait. It's going to be unlike any event I think I've ever heard of. And it's just going to be so much fun. It's right on the Riverwalk. We rented out this baller venue, which we could talk about actually. So this is the stressful part is like, I'm like putting a lot of money on the line personally to make this event happen. And it's super scary. I put like, tens of thousands of dollars down for the venue, tens of thousands for catering, because I want really good catering, videographer and flying my whole team out there. And, just an event planner, like there's just a lot of money. Right. And yet, I want this to exist. I want this event to exist, and I want it to continue to exist year after year. And so I'm looking at it as much of like a brand building exercise, as much as like I'm not looking to like thinking I'm going to make a bunch of money on this. It's like more like this needs to exist. I think that, and also I've talked to a lot of people who have had events, and they were always like, the first year's the hardest. It's like, no one knows really what to expect. You don't have a hype video. Year 2, you have a hype video. Cause it's like, people are there and you see people, this is cool. This is what we did. And there's people at a place and, and so you don't have that until year 2. And so I'm just banking on like, let's just like not lose a bunch of money on year 1. So I think it's going to be a huge, I think it's going to be an institution, a staple. I think it's going to become a mecca for creators who are making money on sponsorships or want to make money on sponsorships. I could see this becoming something that we do regionally, different parts of the world. Like I have a pretty ambitious vision for what this event ultimately becomes, but I decided like, let's host this event less than 2 months after the book launches. And so there's just like so many logistics to do at the same time as launching a book. And so that's the stressful part, is just like doing everything at the same time.
But also I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, it's kind of great too, because now you have this, like, you can have a table of books for sale, Justin. Like, how fun is that? Like, you've never been able to say that before at a conference.
And, that is totally true.
How fun is that? You could be like, Oh, and we have a section where if you bought one of Justin's book, you can go get it signed, take a selfie with Justin. Like now I'm throwing things at you. You're like, oh my God, don't tell me that. I'm gonna go call my event planner. So I won't do that. But I'm just saying, like, it's so exciting. It's such a fun time. And when this episode comes out, the event won't have happened. So people can still get tickets. They can learn more about it. So where do we go to do that?
Should we do a special promo code for your audience? I actually wasn't planning on doing this.
Yes.
Okay. So at the time of recording, so early bird tickets already expired, but I'm gonna extend the early bird rate to your audience. How about that? Even though it's expired, exclusive. This is an exclusive promo code. It's gonna be, the promo code is gonna be Crystal 400. Okay.
Awesome.
To get $400 off your ticket to sponsor games. And I'm also, Inside Baseball here, I'm gonna set you up as an affiliate for this event too.
Fun.
So if you use Crystal's promo code, she's going to get a 30% commission on your enrollment. So if you want to thank Crystal for all the amazing podcast episodes and newsletters that she's given you over many years, use her promo code if you're going to come.
Oh, thank you so much, Justin. That's incredible. And I know that we actually have, because I'm based in Texas, I'm in Houston. So I know that we've got some Texas folks. That's going to be like right on our spring break. So that's why I can't go, Justin. Like you picked the wrong time that I cannot go. But I do want to encourage everybody to get there, because I think that I thought it was so funny too, because, it's called Sponsor Games. And we talked about our kids right before we started recording. I'm like, I have a 15-year-old, I have a 12-year-old, I have a 9-year-old. Beast Games just came out this year too, like in the last 6 months. I'm like, He did this on purpose. He did this on purpose. He heard about Justin's event and he was like, wait, I'm just going to have to steal it. So
100%. Yeah. Jimmy, come on.
Come on. What are you doing? But oh my gosh, y'all, you have to go get Justin's book. So again, that's like, if you're like, well, Crystal, what's the call to action for today? Like, go get the book. That's what the first and foremost we want you to do. And we want you to take a screenshot and share it on social, because this is the thing that can really make all the difference. You're going to be getting your hands on something that by the end of 2025, you can say, I have made more money with my content this year than I have any other year, because that's what happened to me last year. That's what happened to me last year after I started learning with Justin. So again, get the money. Yeah, exactly. Like,
I had to break out the applause.
Yes. That's incredible. I've got to get some sound effects, because you're showing me up here, Justin. Stop. Like, I love it, but stop. You need to quit. But I want to get into, we have our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
I've asked you these before. We're doing them again, because I guarantee you don't remember what you said last time.
Okay.
So we're going to go for it.
All right.
And these change. So, okay, the first one. What piece of advice would you give to a brand new podcaster or a brand new content creator?
It doesn't matter how many downloads you're getting on your podcast, you can still work with brands.
Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a really good one. I wanted to have into more of that, but we're doing rapid fire. Okay. Dream podcast. Which one would you love to be on? And who's a dream podcast guest? Who would you love to interview?
Wow. I would love to be on Ali Abdal's podcast at some point. I'm a huge fan. He's also a client, him and his company, but I love his content, and I think it would be an awesome conversation. Deep dive.
And then, so you want to be on his podcast and you want to interview him?
I would love, so the person, yes, but also another hero of mine who greatly influenced my journey would be Daniel Priestley. He wrote Key Person of Influence.
Okay. Awesome. These are great. Okay. And the last one is, do you consider yourself a perfectionist?
Do I consider myself a perfectionist? Now I'm trying to remember what I answered last time. I think that I would say that yes, but I am a recovering perfectionist now. Because I have made significant efforts over the last year, I would say, to just have a much better work-life balance. And that also helped because I hired another team member who took a lot of stuff off of my plate. And that was a stressful decision as well. But it was the best thing I ever did, because I feel I don't stay up as late anymore working. I have more time with my kids. And so letting people flex their own genius and expertise on my team has been really fulfilling.
Oh my gosh. Like I feel like today was just a master class in so many different things, Justin. And even that little gift right there is super special. So again, one more time, where can we go buy Sponsor Magnet today? Because
it's out. Sponsormagnet.com.
Okay, my last question. I wasn't
Yes.
planning on. I'm like, I need to ask this one. How are
Okay.
you going to celebrate? Now, it's launch day, right?
Okay.
How are you going to celebrate?
Okay.
Just getting this baby out into the world, right? Like you have just
Yeah.
launched it. We're not talking about sales. We're talking about like just
Yeah.
it's done. It's out there. What are you going to do?
So this is maybe totally cheesy, but I bought a really nice bottle of wine recently.
Awesome.
And I told my wife, I was like, we are not opening this until January 21st. We're cracking this open.
Oh.
And so my favorite winery, Camus, and I got a really nice bottle. So I think we'll be cracking that open.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. So celebrate those things today. Y'all go grab Justin's book. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing all this. And I am just so grateful to have you as my coach and mentor and friend. And I can't wait to do the worm with you. Actually, watch you do the worm in the future, because I will not be doing that at our next dance party.
Thank you so much again, Crystal. I truly, truly appreciate it.